is seasoned enough to dig you out, to understand the sincerity in your responses, to know that you have prepared well or not. He's given you the agenda a couple of weeks before you're scheduled to appear for the interview and face the panel. How smartly have you responded to that stimulus? The B School interview process is about assessing your suitability for learning management. And of course, learning itself is incomplete without application. So how do you see yourself learning and applying management? I think for personal and career advancement, for contribution to an organization, for contribution to a society. And therefore, you have terms like CSR, which have escalated to the next level and are being replaced by terms like ESG, which is environmental, social governance, right? So there are rules and norms when you talk about conducting yourself in a certain way in a competitive scenario. There are ways of carrying yourself as a professional. There are ways of acquiring skills and knowledge as a learner in a business school. He wants to see whether you're clear about this or not. So I think before we get into the FAQs, so as to say, I think I would want you guys to understand, I think, a basic model of a business school. What's happening there? What are you headed for? Are you there for talking about, X, Y, Z skills? Are you talking about certain interactions which are kind of headed your way? So what's the kind of transformative experience that you are heading for? We'll talk about that. We'll talk about certain popular questions which are invariably asked in such interviews. I mean, the YMB is a classic question. It doesn't die out. It's been there since years. It's going to be there forever. It's like an SOP. It's like a statement of purpose. And if it has a story, it sells better. When I say sell, I'm talking about the elements of persuasion. So how do you persuade the panel? Look at the challenge. The challenge is not just an interview. The challenge is selling a concept. The challenge is selling a profile. The challenge is persuading the panel that this is a profile which is carved out for learning and applying management, and I think you've arrived. All right? Do not overcommit and underdeliver. A lot of people, what we've seen today in the day, the panel I was a part of, my colleagues were there, what we observed, that people end up sharing a lot more than is required. In that process of oversharing, they overcommit. And they pass on certain elements of their profile which they are not able to validate or talk about subsequently. And the introduction does the damage. The introduction where the pressure is built. Imagine a situation where the panel says, please introduce yourself in at least 2 minutes. Which means that you have to speak for at least as much time. And you may be done after a minute or so, but you are still supposed to manage an expectation. And he keeps on pushing you, and you keep on unfolding. All right? So make sure that you prepare certain things in a certain way, and we'll talk about those things today. Here, we'll talk about what all you need to consolidate, and look at for the next few days till you face the panel. I'm sure you have questions in your minds, your doubts. What is a good answer to this question? What is probably a winning answer to a question like why MBA? There is nothing called a winning answer. It's something which defines you in a certain way and creates opportunities for you to engage with the panel. That's it. All right. So let's look at the MBA model. Let's look at what you're headed for, and then let's link it up to the why MBA. And I'm sure we'll have the answer. And if there are 70 odd people here, there should be 70 odd answers, but somewhere there has to be a convergence because you're headed for a common goal. So it's a larger story, and then how your story fits in the larger context. I think both sides of the challenge covered. You should be able to research the function you want to specialize in, should be able to present it for a while, should be able to talk about business organizations, should know the working aspects, the operational aspects of business more if you're working. All right, so all that. Then these bouncers like why are you wearing a tie? Even these questions, pop up year on year. So at a level you might feel irritated. It's like, oof, that's a very simple one. Why is he asking this question? But you try answering it in a formal setup and you'll feel that you are short of options, right? And he keeps on pushing you for a while. And he doesn't embarrass you. Please, people, if you're thinking that the panel is going to embarrass you, that's not their objective, right? You may get embarrassed in the process because you did not know something very basic, and that has a bearing on your subsequent response. So you have to be emotionally detached also, which is very difficult for us humans, right? Because they're all linked. It's like an organic linkage, right? One thing is connected to another. So mocks will help you to manage these situations better. So let's begin with the B school model. I'll talk about three crucial aspects. What? An input, an output, and the processing unit, the business school. And then, of course, we'll talk about the elements of persuasion. That's a huge part of marketing yourself. Let me reverse it. Let's start with marketing yourself. Marketing, as most of you would agree with me, is understanding the needs of the target customer and delivering the desired satisfactions more efficiently than competitors. Okay? Understanding the expectations, the needs. So the panel has an expectation. He's looking for a profile. He's looking for certain strengths which you get on table in terms of a learner on campus, in terms of a member of a team, a member of a cohort, a member of a group. So these are the expectations, right? And delivering those satisfactions more efficiently than competitors. There is a term in management which you will study day in, day out, and that is competitive advantage. So your profile has to promise that kind of advantage. This is how markets work. And when I say efficiently, I'm using a very powerful word. Today, I think in so many interactions, this discussion came up, effectiveness versus efficiency. Whom would you choose? Would you choose an efficient manager? Would you choose an effective manager? I'm sure people may differ in their responses. But kindly appreciate that efficiency is a larger concept. Efficiency assumes effectiveness. And therefore, you'll go in for the efficient manager. When you use words like sustainability, they can immediately connect with SDGs. They can ask you about that. Why? Because they want you people to be environmentally sensitive. All right? So all that, and they're not looking at demigods. They're looking for people who know the cause they're headed for, and they understand it really well, and it comes up in a certain way in the interaction, and that's about it. That's the game. So marketing we defined. Marketing yourself. So how do you market yourself? Therefore, we appreciate three forces of persuasion. Three forces of persuasion. And we link it to this particular scenario. And these forces are not the ones created by you and me. These are the ones created by philosophers like and management gurus. I'm talking about Aristotle, one of the greatest philosophers we've known. I'm talking about 3rd century BC, when he panned out this concept of ethos, pathos, logos. Ethos is credibility and trust. Pathos is about emotions. And logos is logic. In your pitch, there has to be one or more of these. Either you show him credibility in your candidature, that this is me as a learner, I have evolved as a learner, this was my percentage here, and if things are working well for you, I think it creates that kind of credibility. You talk about managing emotions of the panelist. At the back. Emotions. The panel also has emotions. Prick them and be prepared for the response. Sir, I'm a creative and passionate person with good interpersonal skills. You're not being arrogant here. You're defining yourself. But it should look as if you're able to pull it off. It should not be the other way around. What will he do? He'll stop you there. Oh, so you are a creative person. Not that he's disturbing your equilibrium or something. He's assessing you. Define creativity for us. How is it linked to innovation? Do you think this has an application in the management world? Give us examples. How would you leverage this skill as a learner and somebody applying management subsequently? Right? Passionate, what are you passionate about? Possibly has a reference to your interests and hobbies. You said you have good interpersonal skills. Give us a demonstration. In the past, what have you done which demonstrates it? So he'll not let you go further. He may not. But prepare your clues really well. The panel has emotions, manage them. He wants you to come prepared. So define marketing, define HR, define finance. Sir, I want to specialize in both marketing and HR. Oh, so what is common to both? Both are? What? Both are? Employee-centric, people-centric. In fact, HR is the internal customer and marketing is the external customer. They're both customer-centric. Right? So, I mean, this kind of an input can make them inquisitive. I think arouses curiosity, use logic. So there are 4 ways of looking at this problem. Now he's curious. Which 4 ways? He'll not let you go on to the next, next input. So actually, it's a very interesting story as to, okay, so he's waiting for the story now. The story, the quotation, the piece of data, the reasons which support your candidature. If there is a number to things, the panel gets more curious. All right? For example, I think one of the most challenging questions which people face is the goal of any organization. Can we the door close, please? The goal of any organization. And today itself, we had people coming up and sharing multiple goals of organizations. Something common to all of them was profit. Everybody said profit, money. So what is the goal of any organization? If you start responding to this question, what are the thinking points here? Why is he asking you this question? I mean, he also knows that companies want to make money. You also know that. But certain things are not said. Sorry? Sensitivity towards society is one aspect of it. So why not? What else can be there? We've discussed that in certain forums. Value maximization. Right? The goal of any organization, you can link it to maximizing value for its stakeholders. And if that gets maximized, I think the organization is probable to make profits. If you are treating all stakeholders in a certain way, at least the goal is that, then you're bound to create a model which is sustainable. So you know that the shareholder is a stakeholder who wants ROI. Right? He's put money in that business, he wants return on it. You know that the employee is a stakeholder who wants a positive work environment with a remunerative component which captures his worth, which captures her worth. You know that the creditor, the supplier, the dealer is a stakeholder who's looking for transparency in business dealing. You know that the customer is a stakeholder who wants value for money. And you know that the society, as he said, is a stakeholder which is looking for an organization which is responsible. This understood, this done, value created. Now look at the kind of value the organization can create. So the goal of an organization has to be decoded like this. Do not link it to profits all the time. You have to explain the whole. So it's a hook you hold on to. And the minute you say that there are 5 stakeholders in any organization, he will let you complete those 5 stakeholders. You have bought time for yourself. You have created that opportunity. He's not going to stop you. You applied an ethos, credibility. You applied pathos, you understood his emotions. And there is logic in what you're saying. So there is a logical flow of ideas. And I think task accomplished. Right? So that kind of a treatment of answers is very critical for your acceptance. Because each one of you is going to go in with that level of preparation. So what differentiates you? What is that differentiator which you have created? Now guys, when you talk about, in fact, commerce, BBA, when you talk about business, things are very different. It does not mean that an engineer can be excused, because he or she is supposed to have researched it now. You can't say, sir, I will study in first year and then decide. Since you have shown interest on this side, you have to research, prepare, and then position yourself as a learner that side. Right? So there is no escaping this question. What is management? What is marketing? What is finance? Please make sure that you have an answer, an operational definition of these particular terms. For example, management, I think we've discussed in so many forums again, is about optimal utilization of resources to accomplish organization's goals. The definition is not important. It's what you say in that, the words which constitute that. Usme goal aa gaya, resources aa gaya. Now, he's going to stop you there. Okay, what resources are you doing? What resource would you like to manage? He's pushing you there. The choose a side. You cannot leave everything to first year, second year. Sir, I'm an engineer, or I'm a student of medicine, and I'm curious, but I don't know much about it. I want to explore it, and this doesn't sell now. There are schools like SPJ, and they call you on the basis of a function which you want to specialize in. He's very clear about it. Because there are too many applicants. So you need clarity of thought. You need to take a side now. Okay? Now, so marketing yourself, we define marketing. Let's define you as a person. And the opportunity is introduction. Everybody, I'm sure, today would have been asked to introduce in one way or the other. Somebody would have been asked, define yourself in one word. Then you, of course, you start thinking and you're buying time. So actually, if I have to describe myself coming from, say one word, responsible, okay? Then you should come across as somebody who's responsible. How will he assess that? He will look at your academic graph. Your primary responsibility as a student has been to learn. And one of the most authentic ways of assessing that learning is a board or an institute of a certain level. And that institute or board says that you attained 7.5 CGP on 10. In 10th you were at 95. 12th was 82. So the responsibility part is not aligning with what the graph is saying. So make sure you say something which is reflected in your profile or which you're able to pull off while engaging with the panel. A percentage which is less or modest does not necessarily mean that somebody is not a good learner. But that somebody will have to apply more force to prove that I'm competent. And people who've been working, do not assume that the panel will not ask you questions on your academics. Even if you've been working for a while, 3 years, 2 years, it does not mean that you will not be or may not be questioned on your academics. This is your one chance, so you prepare it accordingly. Now let's come to the business school model. You'll have your time, you can ask questions, okay? I'll give it to you in a while. Yeah. So let's look at the B school model now. Input. Input is you, the candidate. And he's defined that input in different ways and different brochures. Different B schools have talked about this somebody. This somebody who is fit to learn and apply management. He's been defined. So let's look at these points. I don't have a PPT here, but if you want to note down things, you can do that. Register them up here, you can do that. Just hear me out, you can do that. Now, these are extracts from different business schools over the years. I'm talking about at least 23 years, if not less. Yeah, number one is willingness to learn. He's talked about it in so many forums. He wants a person who is willing to learn. And how will he measure this willingness? Your attitude. Your attitude says it all. The way you conduct yourself, the way you sit, look, carry yourself, that reflects your attitude. The panel is smart enough to understand whether you have a learner's attitude or not. But ye nahi seekhna chahta. If the panel gets this kind of a vibe, it means that the interview will be steered in a certain other direction. If they like you, they will create questions you can answer. Ye bhi hai. If the panel likes you, likability you'll have to create there by virtue of your engagement with them. Then the panel knows that I want this person in here. This person has that willingness. See, all of you at a level, you have shown that aptitude for management in a certain way. The CAT or ZAT or whatever we're talking about. So that analytical thing is pretty much in place. Now comes the personality part, which is defined by three things. The ABC of personality. Your attitude, your behavior, your communication. That defines it. So willingness to learn. There are people who may not know the answer, but they are responding in a certain way. See, at times he may not want the value of X. He may not want the value of X. So we had a very interesting case. Somebody who probably was from a non-science background, but his hobby was biking. So the question asked was, and he led me to that particular clue. So the question asked was, what is the horsepower of this particular bike? Because you're leading me on to that particular thing. I'm not looking for the horsepower now, but I want to see how this person treats the question. And he did that in a certain way. I was okay with that. Right? So information may not be their agenda all the time. I mean, you talk about Israel-Palestine war, and the question is, what's the capital of Israel? And suddenly you feel, oh my God, I don't know it. You're not supposed to know it all the time. The capital is not that important. The important part is the opinion which you have about the war. Maybe some people forget it there. Nahi yaad aaya Jerusalem, it's okay. Right? So, information is not their agenda in such questions. It is an agenda in questions which concern the measure of economy, the GDP of the country. Now somebody is saying the GDP is 3.75 trillion US dollars. That's okay. That's a nice input. But how much is a trillion? He's more concerned about the input here, the information, and then your understanding of that information. Do you know what you're talking about? Do you know how many zeros are there in a trillion? How do you quantify data? Now that's a challenge here. He's concerned about information when you talk about a CRR, the repo rate. Very serious about it. And he's even more serious if you're from a commerce background. from a BBA background, economics background. There it becomes a crime if you don't know it. The fiscal policy, the monetary policy, these are like terms you talk about day in, day out in commerce scenarios. All right? So I think for every field, some basic questions need to be answered. Only then they'll graduate to the next genre of questions. And the panel will not, it will not keep on pulling, that thread endlessly. They'll stop somewhere where they're convinced that you can handle it, or this is not for you to manage. Either ways, because the panel will have limited time to assess you. So in that much time, they have to look at so many aspects of your profile. And the broad areas you are aware of. I think you probably have been through a process today, so you know it. Let's add to the list. So one was willingness to learn. And your answer, if you can get them to these traits somewhere, demonstrate them, talk about them, challenge them, if need be. Nothing is wrong with that. They love that. But live up to the challenge. Sir, I may not come across as a test taker, number come hai. I may not come across as a test taker, but I'm conceptually equipped to answer questions on this particular domain. Conceptually equipped. It's a big input. Now, the panel will assess you on that. You're taking him to that particular part. Sir, in this, in the commerce domain, I was particularly interested in microeconomics. Now, it's a challenge, a very subtle way of telling him, ye pooch le. He's okay with that. Why would he go elsewhere here? Because if you can hold the fort there, he's confident that you would have a similar ability elsewhere. Right? It's a challenge which you are throwing to the panel and living up to it subsequently. All right? So do that. Number two, so one is willingness to learn. Number two is strong task orientation. Strong task orientation. Task orientation is your ability to accomplish tasks. You do not leave tasks unattended, unfinished, incomplete. You have the capacity to take it to a level of completion. That kind of orientation. Kahan dikhaoge? Your projects. If your curriculum was replete with learning projects, academic, industry, internships, whatever, take him to that. If you took up some kind of a community work, there was a task you took up, you completed that. A certificate course, right? So task orientation. Number three, high levels of initiative and energy. I repeat, these are extracts from business schools over the years. High levels of initiative and energy. Try defining simple words. What is initiative? Try defining it. Let's define it. Where? In which direction? In the direction towards the goal. Right? In the right direction. The right direction is defined by the goal. It's a good way to lead the panel. Why? Because you prepared goal, vision, mission, सब आता है आपको. अब कहाँ जाएगा? Goal of an organization. What is vision? What is mission? Make sure you know these words inside out. Vision, mission, quality policy. Every institute / organization has to have a vision, mission statement. So what is the organization's vision, mission statement? If you've been working, if you were studying your institute's vision, mission, now that you are aspiring for an MBA, what is your vision, mission with respect to management as a career? Vision is a desired future. Baki sab kahani hai. Vision is a desired future. Mission is a working philosophy. Now you can build the story accordingly. All right, once you have this basic hook to hold on to, now you can navigate. Now you can explore. People who are good at, pulling off a conversation, they can take the panel to different aspects here. They can talk about related dimensions of vision and mission. Right? So what is your vision statement, your mission statement? Where do you see yourself in 15 and 5 years from now? It's a tough question. Again, he wants to know whether you understand what's going to happen inside the business school and how this is going to prepare you for the journey ahead. There's nothing wrong in say, so 15 years from now, I see myself in a strategic decision-making role. So what is strategy? Think like that, prepare. When you lead the panel, there are certain responsibilities you have to own up. So strategy is a sequence of steps to solve a problem. So can you solve problems? I mean, you can't say no to it. So I've been conditioned to do that. I think the academic rigor in my curriculum, it was designed in a way where we would have lectures, tutorials and practicals. The lectures prepared me for the concept part, and tutorials and practicals, they prepared me for the application part. And we were able to solve problems, keeping in mind certain constraints. So can you share with us one problem which you solved recently? Yahan tak jayega, that's it. Right? So organizations exist, thrive because they solve problems. Amazon solves problems. Now it's like the shopper comes to you at your door place. Convenience, pace, options, too many things to choose from. So when you talk about these things, you got to be clear. Right? We're talking about initiative. So first step in the right direction. You may be the NMAT speaker in a case analysis or case discussion, but if you get something new and relevant on table, your initiative is demonstrated. So initiative is also measured in terms of the newness and relevance. So organizations which have initiated successfully, you should be aware of that. Your experience with marketing or management may be at a very preliminary level. He may assess you there. He said, okay, you're a commerce student or engineering or whatever your branch is, you want to specialize in marketing, so have you experienced any brands till now? You can't say no to it. You end up sharing something. So I start my day with brushing my teeth. Oh, so which toothpaste do you use? So Colgate. Who makes Colgate? Colgate. Of course, Colgate Palmolive, right? So anyways, so which other pastes are there in the competitive scope of Colgate? अब थोड़ा सा जाएगा आगे, अगर कॉमर्स वाले थोड़ा और जाएगा. Define a brand. You end up telling him, sir, I want to get into marketing and study brands. Okay, what is a brand? So brand is something which adds value to a product. So quantify, give us examples. Again, depends on your background. You can tell him, sir, engineering student, but I was the marketing head of the committee. Now you're inviting him to marketing. So a working definition. It is all about the claims you make. It's how you validate them. Your claims. So make sure that you experience mock situations and you are able to handle those claims in a certain way. He's going to ask you everything based on what you share with him. That's the challenge. Willingness to learn, number one. Number two, kya tha? Task orientation. Number three, high levels of initiative. Number four, temperament suited for teamwork. Temperament suited for teamwork. Now what does that mean? It means whether you can strike a balance between individual excellence and group performance or not. Do you understand what is collaboration? And people who want to demonstrate teamwork, they can link it to their family systems. You can always say that you've been brought up in a joint family setup which has prepared you for this kind of collaboration, and certain opportunities came along the way during college. This is how you collaborated successfully in teams and you accomplished tasks. Collaboration. So a very basic level of conversation here. Next, number 5, capacity for hard work. A very simple expectation. But if your grades show it, fantastic. If not, your intent has to be in place. Your intent, he'll measure it. He's smart enough to understand your intentions. Right? If you've been working for a while, so specific contributions you've made. For people who've been working, 4 things. Your learnings, your contributions, the output, and also the profile of the organization. Challenges which you faced as well. All right? So 4 or 5 things covered there. Next, empathy. Number 6. I think this is a skill which is being talked about in a big way now. Empathy translates into CSR also. And there is empathy which is mandated also. So what is the mandate there? How do organizations behave in the society? So how does the government mandate this kind of responsibility? I'm sure in the morning there was an essay the topic you wrote on was CSR. So CSR becomes extremely critical now. Explore it, link it to SDGs, and that's the connection. So anything which you prepare, you have to forward integrate, backward integrate. And that gives you the story. That's your action plan. That's your preparation plan. Right? So 6 skills we talked about. If you can get on table 1 or more of these skills, I think you stand a good chance to do well in the interview. That's the profile of the person getting in. Now comes the B school. What happens inside the B school? We've talked about this in certain forums. Can somebody give me an idea of a business school? What are you headed for? You're headed for a lot of action there. But the minute you make it objective, the takeaway goes up. Sir, I want to be a part of this energy on campus, which probably I would like to leverage through 5 levels of interactions on campus. 5 levels? Guarantee bol raha hu, sunega. Which 5? This is an answer which cannot go unnoticed. It's a teaser which he'll respond to. Teaser? Usko chhedna hai. With a plan, of course. Innocuous teasers, harmless. And he wants to be teased into that. He wants you to lead him into those areas. So what 5 levels of interaction are you talking about? So 1, ye likh lo yaar. Ye sun lo dhyan se. Number 1, and then you can have your own interpretations, of course. Number 1 is the student-student interaction. In a business school, I think one of the most inclusive components of the curricula is that people from different backgrounds co-create value. Look at the term I'm using. Co-create. See if you can apply these things on the day of the interview. What is co-creation? Joint creation of value. Right? And who all are collaborating? There is somebody from engineering, different branches of engineering, medicine, arts, humanities, commerce, BBA. Look at the academic diversity the B school has created. This is not true for other courses. This is one platform where these diverse people, they collaborate to create value, joint creation of value. The subway model, co-creation. You enter a subway outlet and you ask him, ye dal de, ye mat dalna. That's the power the customer is getting now. The organization has given you that experience to participate in the sub-creation process. Smart way. And it's your health. All healthy things to choose from. Right? Creating value together. So number 1 is student-student interaction, peer group learning, co-creation of value. This is what you can possibly talk about. Number 2, so there is student-faculty interaction. वो तो कई जगह होता है यार. In any institution, there has to be student-faculty interaction. So what's unique about the B school? The uniqueness is the pedagogy, the teaching pedagogy. It is the case study methodology, the role plays, the simulation workshops, the group tasks you're a part of. You will end up panning out so many presentations at the end of that 2-year program that presentations will come to you naturally. People have a stage fright, most of them. Research shows 97% people ranked stage fright as their first phobia, the most dominant phobia. The B school will kill it completely. I mean, every day there's a presentation. Every day you have to manage this challenge. And when you do it repeatedly, 2 years, every week, every day, you become a champion in that particular skill. Pedagogy. This is where faculty, if you are able to share with him that, sir, I researched the brochure and the profiles of the faculty members, 2 of them, they really got my attention. Nothing wrong on it. It's a selling tool. He knows that you've invested time. Or he knows how to lead the panel. He knows that you're smart enough. He'll give you that opportunity. Take it from me. He will. Right? People who are researching, academia, people who've worked in the industry. So look at the faculty base, and a good B school will be able to get good people to interact with. That's number 2, the second level of interaction. कई बार क्या होता है, you commit 5 and you forget the 5th one. Now that is a problem. When you are committing, you have to honor the commitment. Number 3, student industry interaction. I think it's beautiful. It's a lovely program where either the industry is coming to the campus or the campus is going to the industry. Industry coming to the campus? Possible, because there are people who are working and they would like to share that knowledge with management students. Certain organizations, they train you in a certain way, they identify you in the first or second year, and people from that industry come in, they ensure that it's a learning platform in a certain manner which is expected in their organization. They condition you to think like that. And people going to the industry, typically after first year, you have a 2-month internship in a 2-year program. Or live projects, even otherwise subject related, which you'll be a part of. A mention of this will definitely be there in the brochure. Dig it out. The answer is there. He's talked about this in the brochure. What kind of projects? Sir, I was excited to learn about this particular project supported by organization ABC. Awesome. It looks as if you are well researched because you're serious about the cause. That's number 3, student industry. Number 4, now this is the power of a business school. Number 4 is student alum. Alumni. ये unique है. Good B schools will be able to create good networking opportunities. And network is net worth. They'll put you onto the world. And there are people who are in different organizations, different roles they are playing, and they are evolved people. It's not just a destination, the journey which is important. They've been through that journey, the ups and downs, the learning challenges, the career advancement challenge. So these are people who can mentor you. Many business schools will offer one-on-one mentorship also. There's somebody guiding you in your career. And alums will never mislead you. They will never mislead you. Very rarely you would find somebody cheating you like that. I don't think that exists. So that's your opportunity base. And remember, in a business school, you're being watched. People are eyeing you. They are connected. When they come and interact with you on campus, they may have an agenda. They may be there to identify you. People who do their projects, they have a PPO, a pre-placement offer. Because you came out as somebody who was high on these traits, on these 6 traits which we talked about. Right? So you came across as likable, therefore. The organization will like you for just one reason, that you can contribute. That's it. Okay? You can learn, you can contribute, you can grow. And so does the organization. But also the attitude. People who have a learning attitude will very rarely fail. Rarely. Right? And I keep on telling you time and again, he will dig it out during the course of interaction. This is why in the mocks we tell you, this is how you conduct yourself. Don't be too submissive. Don't be too condescending also. You have to ensure that your self-respect is intact. He's not pricking it. And I mean, stop telling us that they ask you just about anything. Aisa nahi hota. They ask you anything because you led him on to that thing. One thing led to another, and you ended up facing that question. And that question may be, oops, bouncers can come along your way. All right? So, we were talking about the levels of interaction, student-student, student-faculty, student-industry, student-alum. Fifth one, student-society. You cannot overlook this part. The B school operates in a certain ecosystem. You are given projects to improve your community. You're given projects, sustainability in practice, SIPs. All right, so what difference can you make in that society? So you're interacting with those communities. That interaction is also huge. So what you did, you created some kind of a curiosity and you introduced 5 levels of interactions which will channelize your energy on campus and lead to a certain output. So input we've discussed, the B school we have discussed. Now you look at this, because people know these things, but you have to put them in boxes. Packaging. Package your content smartly. All right? I'm sure you guys, some of you, I think that you were amazing to interact with. We even told you that you're a very interesting person. But you may add this to your answers and you can be a better guy. Right? So, play it well. Play it well. Package your content well. And now let's look at the output. The output of a business school. I think it's fairly obvious. The output is, what's the output? What do you become after an MBA? You become a business manager, okay, but something is missing here, right? The answer is not complete. What kind of a manager? You become, all right, let's look at the courses. What are the courses there? The courses on finance, marketing, HR, operations, IT, strategy, international business. Then depending on the niche, certain courses are designed, right? So now if you kind of look at these and also the process you go through, you'll understand that you're being prepared from a dual purpose. Industry and society. Within industry again, 2 challenges. Functional and general. Functional management. Finance, HR, operations, IT, and how these are linked. This is called integrated management. These functions do not operate in silos. They're all connected organically. And one thing leads to another. Right? This kind of an organic linkage between functions to create value for stakeholders is what business is all about. So this is the functional skill. General skill, time management, stress management, resource management, general skills. Your attitude, behavior, you've been trained now to think in a certain way. So general management skills. So the output now, listen to this carefully. The output of a business school is an industry and society ready. You ready for the industry? You've discussed how. Society, responsible. You know how to give back to society. You cannot disturb the equilibria of the society. You're setting up a plant, you better be careful that no pollution is created. There are pollution norms, and they're very stringent these days. They mean business, right? So industry and society ready, global business management professional. ये बराबर है? Global क्यों? Because you are studying international business practices as well, even if the course is not dubbed as MIB. A good B school will be able to share international practices. Always. The case studies will have relevance to international scenarios. I think a very popular case is the Tylenol. I keep on talking about it all the time. Tylenol, T-Y-L-E-N-O-L. Just read it up. 1982 case where James Burke, the CEO of Johnson & Johnson, the company which owned the brand then, he got into a lot of trouble regarding Tylenol, an analgesic, killing 7 people in Chicago after a regular consumption of the brand. Then how did the company handle it? It's a classic case study. Read up certain cases. Right? I think, and you can tell him that, sir, I was researching and I was excited about the case study methodology, so I looked up a very interesting case. Lead him on to it, he's okay with it. These are our limitations. We assume that, oh my God, what will he think about it? I'm an engineer who's been working for 2 years. How can I read such a case? I'm not a commerce guy. No, it's in your mind. You can, because you've shown interest onto this side. And you were told by people, by advisors, by counselors that management education is driven by case studies. So why not? The output: industry and society ready global business management professional with a social entrepreneurial mindset. Look at the way I'm defining it. A social entrepreneurial mindset. This explains everything. It's a very, very, very interesting input, and the panel will not let you go by. They'll stop you here and ask you to decode the definition. Working definition of who you are, what you will be after 2 years of an MBA program, what happens inside the management school, and then how does your career advance? How does your career advance? We're talking about strategic decision making somewhere, but strategy does not start day one. You'll have to walk up the path. So what is that path replete with? Learning. So what do you tell him? Give me a path. Okay. Give me a path. Give me a description of that path. How do you see yourself walking that path? क्या होने वाला आपके साथ? After business school, you become this. All this happens inside the business school. You graduate. You start working in organization XYZ. Now, what happens? I'm sure you can do that. You're looking tired. Thanks for this input. We will never talk about designations. We'll talk about roles and responsibilities always. So what do you start doing? You start working in teams. So how bad is it if you tell him that I see myself working in teams, understanding the vision, mission. ये बोलता रहना vision जब तक पूछता नहीं है वो, because you prepared it. पूछेगा end में. Understanding the vision, mission and culture of the organization, and the overall goal and my key responsibility areas. Subsequently, I see myself leading those teams in the domain of consumer marketing, in the domain of investment banking, in the domain of strategic HR management. जो भी है आपका एरिया डिफाइन करो, उसको इंडस्ट्री डिफाइन कर दो. If you can define the industry, fantastic. If you can define the industry, awesome. It makes the whole takeaway more specific, right? And with the passage of time, I see the scale and scope of this leadership enlarging. This is nice. Scale and scope of leadership. आपने क्या introduce किया? Leadership. What do leaders do? पूछेगा, पक्का पूछेगा. हम क्या बोलते हैं? So leaders lead. You cannot use the same word to define that word, right? So 3 things which leaders do. 3 things. You've again challenged his curiosity. 3 things. So number 1, they define the goal. जाना कहाँ है? Number 2, they mobilize resources. And number 3, they initiate change. बहुत सी चीजें हैं, I'm sure. Oh, how do they initiate change? What is change management? Give me 3 or 4 steps more if you are from a commerce background or you've been working. So change begins with a scanning of the environment. Okay? That's right. Give me an example of a successful change management and a failure.
No case of failure.
Yeah. So it's being recorded, so we don't know care to listen to this. But yeah. So you talk about these examples, I'm sure you'll dig them out. Wherever you have an input like this, please make sure you have a supporting example or a demonstration or an illustration that makes it more convincing. And sir, I see myself evolving or transiting from an operational resource to a strategic one. So what is a strategic one? वो strategy भी आ जाएगा. He just wants to see whether you know what you're saying or not. That's about it. So this is the whole management school model. We've talked about the input, the output, and the journey ahead. Now, just the session is about to come to an end, but I would like to share this example. Do not be overconfident, guys. Prepare. A lot of you might think it's about impromptu talk. No, it's not. It's about going prepared and sounding natural. Now, that person is more probable to make it. So a couple of years ago, we had this person coming along, I'll not name him, and CCT had just opened an outlet in Chandigarh then. So this person came late in the evening and he wanted a mock interview. So we formed a panel and we engaged with him, and somewhere this question came along, that what's your hobby? So he said, ye to ho jayega sir, this I'll manage. I prepared, it's late in the evening, so I need to go. It's an important day for me, tomorrow. The guy went, and he went to the CCD, the coffee day center. He probably asked for a coffee, and during that time, he happened to lay his hands on that coffee table book, which, I think I've discussed that, which said Osho. Osho, this is deep philosophy. So he just glanced through it and didn't read it, glanced through it, had his coffee, and the day was over. Next day, facing the panel, they asked him, so and so, what are your hobbies, your interests? So he said, sir, I love watching movies and listening to music. No. Everybody coming here today said the same thing. Tell us something different. Now, do you really think it's your responsibility to be different here? It's your hobby. I mean, so what if 9 people before you have said it? But you can't say this to the panel. So what do? You expand the scope of those interests. That's it. I'm sure people have similar interests and hobbies. However, to me, movies, I watch them from a different perspective. For me, they reflect the social and cultural realities in a certain way. And a recent movie in this direction was this. Us pe thodi discussion ho jayegi. Music for me is more about stress management. It's a very cliche answer, but it's okay. If you're an engineer, what is stress? What is Young's modulus? Pooch sakta hai. In the past, these things have happened. Now this guy, facing the panel and being challenged to say something which does not fall in the domain of his hobbies, and this is what he shared with me the next day, and he said, sir, kuch yaad nahi aaya, Osho. That book I was reminded of, I had never ever read that book, not even that day, but I ended up telling him, sir, I love. अब पहली बार किताब पढ़ रहे हैं, sir, I love reading books on Osho. You know, Murphy's Law, when things go wrong, they really do. And that person happened to be an Osho freak. And that guy made him freak out. Because, you know, you can't outsmart them on these things. Why are you saying it if this is not you? Sir, I felt the pressure to be different. Oh my God, this is the worst kind of pressure you can experience. And in that pressure, you end up sharing something which is nowhere close to what you've done. That's his problem. So do not be different for the sake of being different, or if you have to, prepare. आप वो धागे खींचिए I can guarantee you 3-4 questions on each of those threads. और कितने 7-8 धागे होंगे, 28-30 क्वेश्चन है. That's the game. And practice. Make sure the mocks are pretty much in place. You're mentored properly. You seek guidance, get answers, get a feedback. I don't think anybody can probably outsmart you on that. They are not there to outsmart you. Remember that. They want you in, but you have to lead them on successfully. So, do you want to succeed?
Yes, sir.
सारे ऐसे बोलते हैं. मतलब सॉरी, ऐसे ही बोलना चाहिए. ये क्वेश्चन पैनल पूछ रहा है अब. Do you want to succeed? क्या बोलेंगे? ये नहीं कह सकते क्योंकि ये तो आंसर जानता है वो. Will anybody say no? So what is the objective of the question? The objective of the question is to define success. Sir, to me success is a time bound accomplishment of goals. That's it, sir. I have apne goals, the learnings over the years. Everybody wants to succeed here. All right? So I think it has to be done differently. There are certain topics he'll ask you to, for example, today in some of the interviews, so people were guessing, and guess they should when they're in trouble. So the topic given for discussion, for presentation there was, is guessing an act of intelligence? And suddenly the candidates became very defensive. Right? It's not about you. And the answer is not important here. The treatment of the content is important. Define guessing. So guessing is a form of decision making when data is inadequate. Barabar hai. So there are two kinds of guesswork. Now you have challenges, curiosity. Two kinds of guesswork sunega. So there is informed guess and there is a wild guess. Informed guess, in fact, so coming from a commerce background, sales forecasting is one of the ways in which you guess the market based on a lot of information. I'm from finance, sir, and the entire stock market is based on speculation. Usko wahan lekar jao. Jayega na? Alright? So don't be defensive. He does not want a yes or a no. He wants a treatment of the content there. And these are questions where you cannot fail. It can't be right or wrong. It has to be appropriate, inappropriate. ये ठीक था, ये नहीं ठीक था. सही गलत नहीं है ये. Answer गलत नहीं हो सकता यहाँ पे. Right? I think there's more to it all the time. There's more to everything. But it's been a long day for you as well. So we need a closure. Now, of course, like every year, we have to wind up with an oath. Okay? And I want one person to come here and speak out the slogan, a simple one. And others can resonate. And let's fill up this room with that oath and get things done. The time between now and then is your time to prepare. You know, somebody said that if you have to cut a tree in 6 hours, you spend the first 4 in sharpening the axe. Now is your time to sharpen the axe. And take notes. Put them under relevant headings. Introduction, then education, academics, extracurriculars, courses, the defining courses. If you are from an engineering background, did you ever study management? होते हैं, electives होते हैं. Did you study industrial economics or corporate finance? That's your clue. He may ask you. If you are from a BBA commerce background, you cannot discount management gurus. The management taught in first semester. You have to know about a Fuel or Taylor. They are generic to your program. So somebody, I said, have you heard of Taylor? Sir, FW Taylor? So what is FW? पता नहीं. ये क्या बोलने की जरूरत है कि FW? Frederick Wilson Taylor. But this is an act of ignorance, no? एकदम से response था, sir, FW Taylor. अब समझ रहे? So let's learn from each other. Let's learn from each other. I think every year people make it because they're able to create winning propositions. They're able to create winning propositions. Make your story, sit with your mentor and get the story checked. There's nothing called, right or wrong in terms of a story. Right? So get that thing done. I want one person to come here, but remember, It is time for us all to stand and cheer for the doer, the one who recognizes the challenge and does something about it. I'm quoting Vincent Lombardi, American football coach. Your challenge now is to convert this call into an admit. It's not about the number of calls in your pocket. It's about that one call you believe in. See it through. Possible एक ही call है, पर convert कर दी. It's okay. All right. So I want, hey, why don't you come along? All right, champ. On my left. And the slogan is fairly simple. It's yes, I can. So when you say it, they have to say it loud with you. You've been in clubs and societies, I know that. Yes, I can. Itna bulwana hai. Everybody has to fill up the hall with this sound. Let's resonate together. We'll start with, you have to lead on.
Yes, I can.
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 Thank you so much, and I hope you guys make it. Thanks a lot, guys. Do very well. You can clap confidently, louder. Thank you.